Your WordPress Website Security Series, Part 1. Your WordPress website will never be completely secure. When it comes to website security, an ideal that is too perfect is impossible to achieve or maintain. Even with a website that is as secure as possible, it is impossible to eliminate all security risks. A good website security strategy is to reduce the risks of a website instead of eliminating them. The implementation of appropriate and reasonable security controls will reduce the risk of your site being hacked. To protect your WordPress website, you need more than just installing a security plugin. You need to take more steps. Whether you're a Fortune 500 company, an e-commerce retailer, or a small business with an online marketing presence, protecting your website from hackers is a top priority. A true website security system requires that you consider and address all three components of a complete security strategy: protection, prevention, and detection. Make sure your WordPress website core, themes, and plugins are up to date. One of the biggest security flaws in WordPress is outdated software. The WordPress team stays up to date on core files and often patches vulnerabilities to enhance security. The most popular and well-maintained themes and plugins are also updated periodically. With information now publicly available about fixes to security holes in previous WordPress versions, it is easy for hackers to target specific documented weaknesses. A website that is outdated is even more vulnerable. It is imperative that you keep your website updated with regularity. Remove any themes or plugins you don't need. The reality is that if you're not using a particular theme or plugin, you're not likely to be thinking about updating it regularly. Since failing to update even unused themes and plugins means increasing your vulnerability to attack, it's better to just delete such themes and plugins entirely to eliminate this unnecessary risk. Maintain a well-oiled machine. In addition to increased security, updates can improve the performance of WordPress itself, one of the themes or plugins you use. The WordPress 3.9 update included performance improvements for the Tiny MCE, and the WordPress 4.1 update included improvements to complex queries. Keep your website framework up to date and you'll improve site performance. Integrate only reputable, well-supported plugins and minimize their use. Be scrupulous. Developers wanted to develop plugins without altering the base framework. As a WordPress user, you need to understand that every time you install a plugin, you are putting your website's health into the developer's hands. If the plugin developer is experienced and responsibly minded, the chances of running into problems are slight, but even then, cannot be guaranteed. Unfortunately, not all developers follow best practices, and not all release regular updates or patches. Therefore, it is important to use only plugins that are well supported, regularly updated, and that have garnered a significant number of downloads with many positive reviews. As a general rule, we generally recommend that you do not use plugins for which updates have not been issued. Removing or disabling third-party plugins increases security. Doing so maximizes your site's speed and performance. Plugins can dramatically slow your website down. The best way to go about this is to try to keep in mind that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. If your site can function without a particular plugin, or if the features you desire can be implemented with simple code changes, then please don't use a plugin. With fewer plugins, your performance will be better and there will be fewer opportunities for hackers to access your site information. The WordPress database is the foundation of your website. Your WordPress website information is stored in that database, making it a hacker's favorite target. The default installation for WordPress uses the default table prefix, WP_. If you don't take the time to change this, attackers can easily breach your database by sending malicious code that targets your WP_based tables. By changing the default prefix for your database table and indicating this new prefix in your site's configuration file, your site's database table names are no longer known outside of your site. A brute force attack usually searches for the WordPress default administrative URL. Changing your login page will make it harder for a hacker to gain access to your computer. Change your admin URL to anything other than www. Website name. com, WP admin or www. Website name. com, WP login. PHP to ensure that hackers have a more difficult time locating and attacking. Manage user accounts. Give up the default user. The user created when WordPress is first installed will be automatically assigned a default identity, especially user ID 1. Hackers can take advantage of this fact and deploy loopholes that attempt to reset the password of the user account. You can easily prevent such attacks by creating a new user account with the role of administrator, and attributing all posts and pages owned by the initial user account to this new one. When you create the name for your new user, be creative and do not use the name admin. This username is often used by quick installers and is a favorite target of hackers. With administrator privileges, half of the puzzle is already solved for an attacker. With a known username, only a password is required to hack your site. Removing the default user account, admin, from your WordPress site can prevent it from being open to automated attacks. Your WordPress website's strong passwords are hard for a reason. On your WordPress website account of the complexity of our increasingly complex world, people cringe when they're told their new password needs to be a certain length, contain a specific mix of characters, etc. However, if your website users choose simple and easy-to-guess passwords like password 123, change, or other straightforward combinations, they are inviting hackers to wreak havoc on your website. Forcing strong passwords that change often for all users is a necessity for enhanced website security. Random strings of letters and numbers are best. If you are using a password and can't think of anything, there are websites that can generate passwords for you. You can't always get what you want. Sometimes the security of the website is compromised because one of its most basic security practices is breached. Too many people have access to the control room. Implementing this sort of restriction can be difficult. Many website content editors feel the need for full power and control over a site. While giving everyone administrative permissions is quick and easy to do in the short term, it can be a recipe for trouble over the longer term. Restrict users from accessing website management. Grant access only to those who absolutely need it, and even then, provide only the minimum permissions necessary for those users to complete their assigned tasks. Take the time to ensure that appropriate permissions are assigned to your website roles and that all users are granted a website role that allows them to do their job effectively. Protect your WordPress website admin panel. Mix a little SSL is an abbreviation for Secure Sockets Layer. Encrypting and hiding data being transferred between web browsers and servers. Your WordPress administrative dashboard is the gateway into your site, and obtaining a username and password for access to it is the ultimate goal of a hacker. Implementing an HTTPS SSL encrypted connection ensures that sensitive access information is encrypted. Correct file permissions and ownership aren't typically front of mind when thinking about WordPress security. They should also be beautiful. The unpleasant reality is that you can avoid security measures for most websites. This means that even if you do everything else correctly, you may be vulnerable to attack by malicious users if your file system permissions are not set correctly. Right or not right? In a perfect world, if you wanted to make changes to your WordPress website, you would have to make a backup of the files, then change them. The restrictions put in place would make it very difficult for hackers to upload malicious scripts, thus reducing the scope of attacks on your site. However, making everything read-only would result in a variety of usability issues. For example, you wouldn't be able to upload media or add new plugins to your site, and you would likely experience WordPress errors during upgrades. With this said, it is best practice to lock down permission levels on your files and folders whenever possible, and loosen those permission levels only when necessary. Select the company that will best meet your WordPress website needs. Make sure to start with a rock-solid foundation. Your website, no matter what content management system or web technologies you are using, is only as secure as the hosting platform on which it runs. With that said, a good place to start when it comes to website security is in the choice of a secure hosting environment. After all, if someone can exploit a vulnerability in old software versions or other services on your hosting platform, it won't matter whether you are using the latest version of WordPress or what other measures you have taken to secure your site. There are many hosting providers, so many that it would be impossible to count them all. With so many options, how do you decide on the one that is best for you and your website? While any web host may be vulnerable to an attack, you should look for a hosting company that emphasizes security. Specifically, consider the following for each candidate during the selection process. Availability and quality of customer support. Update frequency for firmware versions of all server software. Supported backup methods. Previous security breaches, and how the host responded. Consumer reviews. If you choose to publish your site on a shared hosting plan, make sure that your host offers account isolation. One account can't overload the server and cause problems for your website. Good hosting companies will also offer daily internal backups, but remember that you still need to do regular external backups. Good job! Enjoy your WordPress website.